Imagine you're at a dinner party. You're just another face in the room. People laugh at your jokes. Conversations feel effortless. Someone seems genuinely interested in getting to know you. Then, completely by accident, they find out you're wealthy. And in less than 5 seconds, it's like you're talking to a different person. Their smile changes. Their tone changes. The questions they ask change. Some become unusually friendly. Others suddenly become distant. A few start sizing you up, as if they've been given a completely different version of who you are. Here's the unsettling part. Most of them have no idea they're doing it. One piece of information, your net worth, can completely rewrite the way another human being sees you. Why? Why does discovering someone has money instantly alter trust, respect, attraction, envy, and even the way people make eye contact? This isn't about greed, and it's not just about jealousy. It's about a psychological switch buried deep inside the human brain, one that quietly changes how people judge, value, and behave toward others the moment wealth enters the picture. Today, we're breaking down the hidden psychology behind what really happens when people discover you're rich. And once you understand it, you'll start noticing it everywhere. Let's get into it. Here's the first thing that happens when someone finds out you're wealthy. They recalibrate their entire perception of you. And it happens in about 3 seconds. Let me explain what I mean. When you meet someone without them knowing your wealth level, they're evaluating you based on actual data, how you treat people, what you say, your sense of humor, your personality. These things form their impression. But the moment they learn you're wealthy, their brain goes into a different mode. They start reinterpreting everything they just heard through a lens of wealth. A joke you made? Now it seems like a wealthy person's sense of humor. A story you told about struggle? Now they're wondering if it was real struggle or rich person problems. Your kindness? Now they wonder if it's genuine or if you're being generous because you can afford to be. Psychologically, this is called motivated reasoning. Once they know you have money, their brain is working backward to reinterpret your personality through that lens. The person you were talking to genuinely liked you, but now they're not sure if they like you or if they like the idea of knowing someone wealthy. Here's something more subtle that happens that most people don't consciously notice. The moment someone finds out you're wealthy, their sense of what they're allowed to ask you changes. Before they knew you were rich, they might not have felt comfortable asking for financial advice, or mentioning their money problems, or bringing up that business idea they've had. It felt like oversharing. But the moment you're rich, suddenly it feels okay. You're now the person who understands money. You're the person who can help. They feel permission to ask things they wouldn't have asked before. It's like you've been put in a new social role, not because you changed, but because one piece of information rewired their perception of who you are in relation to them. This creates a weird dynamic. You have the same knowledge and personality you had before, but now people feel like they can ask you things, borrow from you, get advice from you, expect things from you. Your wealth created an invisible obligation that didn't exist 10 minutes ago. This is where it gets really interesting from a psychological perspective. Humans are constantly calculating status hierarchies. It's something we do automatically, without even thinking about it. In any group of people, we're subconsciously figuring out who's higher status and who's lower. When someone doesn't know you're wealthy, they're calculating your status based on what they can see, how you dress, how you speak, what you do for work, your confidence, your knowledge. But money is one of the biggest status signals we have. And the moment someone knows you have it, they recalculate where you sit in the hierarchy. Suddenly, you're higher status than they realized. And this triggers a whole cascade of behavioral changes. They might become more deferential. They might laugh more at your jokes. They might become more interested in what you're saying. They might, without realizing it, try harder to impress you. You didn't change, but their perception of your status changed. And human behavior shifts instantly in response to perceived status differences. The weird part? If you were already high status for other reasons, you were smart, confident, successful in your career, adding wealth doesn't change much. But if you seemed ordinary before, wealth instantly elevates you in their mind. When someone finds out you're wealthy, their brain immediately starts making assumptions about everything else about you. Rich people are assumed to be smarter, or luckier, or more connected, or born into privilege. The assumptions vary, but they happen automatically. This is called the halo effect in psychology. One positive quality, in this case wealth, makes people assume you have other positive qualities too. But here's what's interesting. The specific assumptions people make about wealthy people are often wrong. Someone might assume you're smart just because you're rich, or assume you're trustworthy, or assume you understand their problems, or assume you got lucky. These assumptions aren't based on reality. They're based on a stereotype about wealthy people that's baked into everyone's brain. So the moment someone finds out you're rich, they're not actually evaluating who you are anymore. They're evaluating who they think rich people are, and they're projecting that onto you. You become a character in their story about wealth rather than an actual person. Here's something that seems contradictory. People both resent wealthy people and want to be around them. The same person who might feel envious of your wealth also wants to befriend you, to be seen with you, to be associated with you. This is the envy paradox. Envy and admiration exist at the same time. Someone can genuinely dislike that you have money while simultaneously wanting the benefits of being near you. So when a stranger finds out you're wealthy, they might feel a flash of envy or resentment. But then immediately, they also feel a desire to get closer to you, to benefit from your presence somehow, to be the kind of person who knows wealthy people. This creates this weird social dynamic where people approach wealthy individuals with mixed emotions, genuine resentment and genuine interest existing simultaneously. Most wealthy people can sense this. They can feel that people's interest in them isn't entirely authentic. It's mixed with something else. And that's why so many wealthy people report feeling isolated, even when surrounded by people. People are interested in their wealth, but are they interested in them? When someone finds out you're wealthy, they often unconsciously shift into performance mode. They start performing a version of themselves that they think a wealthy person would want to be around. Maybe they emphasize their accomplishments more. Maybe they're more careful about what they say. Maybe they try to seem more interesting or more impressive. Maybe they shift their opinions to align with what they think you believe. It's not conscious usually, but it's a real shift. They're performing for an audience of one. And again, you didn't ask for this. You didn't change anything about yourself. But the knowledge that you're wealthy triggered a performance response. This is one of the psychologically damaging aspects of wealth that people don't talk about much. Real connection requires authenticity, but wealth often triggers performance. So wealthy people often surround themselves with people who are performing rather than people who are being genuine. Here's something counterintuitive. Revealing wealth often creates distance, not closeness. Before someone knew you were rich, there was no status gap between you. You were just two people talking. That created a kind of equality in the interaction. But the moment they know you're wealthy, an invisible gap appears. They're now in a lower position in your presence. That's how their brain processes it. This distance is invisible. Nobody talks about it directly, but both people feel it. The person now feels slightly less comfortable, less equal, less free to be themselves, and they might pull back slightly, creating psychological distance even though the two of you are standing in the same room. This is why wealthy people often report that their friendships fundamentally change once their wealth becomes known. It's not that people hate them, it's that a distance appeared that wasn't there before. When someone finds out you're wealthy, their brain instantly starts calculating. What does this person want from me? What are they going to ask me for? What's going to cost me? They're running a cost-benefit analysis of knowing you. On the positive side, they might benefit from your wealth somehow. Money advice, connections, favors, just being associated with someone wealthy. On the negative side, they might worry that now you have expectations of them, that you'll notice things about them you wouldn't have noticed before, that you'll judge them for not having money. So they're unconsciously calculating whether it's worth it to invest in this relationship. Most of the time, people decide the benefit of knowing someone wealthy outweighs the cost. But that calculation happens, and it means their interest in you isn't entirely about you as a person. When strangers find out you're rich, something fundamental shifts in how they see you and treat you. It's not about jealousy or anger necessarily. It's more subtle than that. It's about psychological recalibration. Status hierarchy shifts, assumptions, performance, distance. In about 3 seconds, a person you were connecting with authentically becomes someone who's interacting with their idea of what a wealthy person is. This is one of the hidden costs of wealth that rarely gets discussed. Not the taxes, not the complexity of managing money, but the constant subtle shift in how human beings treat you once they know you have it. Understanding this doesn't fix it, but it helps you recognize when it's happening. It helps you understand that when people's behavior changes around your wealth, it's usually not personal. It's psychological. It's automatic. The real question becomes, how do you build genuine connections with people when the knowledge of your wealth keeps triggering performance and distance? That's something only you can figure out.